start on so it actually pops up. Come on, where's that image? I have a photo of this somewhere. Is that it? That is not it. Now the question is, do I have a better image of that? Is it in here? Yeah, there it is. There's the image I'm looking for. Save. Yep. Change that. Open. I'm hoping you're less than 2 megabytes. You are. That's a wonderful thing to see. We take those. Oh man, do I want to run with this on? No, that's way too bright. It needs to be a slightly lower setting than that. It's not the mood we're going for here. Speaking of the mood, you can see the title. I've made coffee, not just normal coffee. This is my cold brew. Hold on, let me try. So I've got hot coffee that I've gotten here. I have iced coffee, which I don't want to get over the microphone for fear of possibly ruining it. Don't mind the metal scratching there. I need to use that as a coaster. So I've got hot coffee, iced coffee, and I spent an hour doing this because actually it was well more than an hour. This coffee's taken about a day. Yeah, a day probably to make. And all it was cold brew. But because I used fine ground coffee instead of a coarse ground, oh yeah, you can see this is what I was doing there. But so, oh wait, hold on, that's the wrong one. I need to be on, I need to be on stream. Yeah, there it is. Now I've actually got the overlay going. Let me go ahead and pop out chat. You'd think one of these days I would actually be prepared. But nah, not today, it's not happening. At least we got chat going again here. Oh. Wow, this is slow. This is way slower than I thought it would be. So this is Tinkercad. The Tinkercad online web-based 3D modeling service. It's one of the first ones I really learned. So I've done a lot of work in here, and as you can see, what I've been working on is, it was supposed to be keycap. Well, it is keycaps, which I've actually got a couple examples here of some of the processes that I've used for trying to make these keycaps, and you'll see some of the struggles that I've had between designs and this sort and trying what's his face, the designs and different materials and stuff. So I think I actually will need to turn this on for that. One of the first ones we made was, oh, camera focus. Maybe that on's not a good thing. But the first one we made was this. Now, this one fit together pretty well. Only problem was I didn't figure out how to get the center of the A to stay. Well, I say only problem. One of the other problems was because I didn't have my sizings right. The bottom of this keycap is massive. I mean, genuinely massive. It's far too thick to fit in a keyboard. Oh, that coffee's actually quite good. It's a little weak. I definitely need to up the coffee ratio. We have a little scoop that just comes with the side of the, it comes with the machine, it just sits on the side. And I didn't actually measure what I was doing. I just kind of took one of those. I didn't see how much it was. So it's definitely a little bit weak. I made a cold foam to go on top too. So I went full basic college person on this. Like, this is straight up almost Starbucks kind of shit. And since it's getting to that time during the fall, I've also added a little bit of We had pumpkin pie seasoning to try and make it a little pumpkin spice. But, so I'm coming up to my college thesis. I've got to make a final project, and I've got a year to do it. Oh, I left my calendar downstairs. For the first day of classes, we ended up making a calendar for what we're going to do. And in 14 days, we need to have a prototype ready for what we're going to show. Now, I've wanted to do keycaps for a while. This has been a thing since I've been at this new college compared to when I was at community college. That I've wanted to do keycaps, and I wanted to make them 3D printable, because the point was either I could sell designs or dimensions or sell keycaps themselves, and keep the STL files. Now I've tried a few things. This was PLA. So that was the first one was PLA. We tried a transparent filament, which didn't work too well, unfortunately. Let me add that in there. Another problem we were running into was we were running the machines on campus so hard that we ended up getting a little bit of like a drift. I don't know if you can really see it, but it is, ooh, yeah, you can see it that way. You can see where the entire print ended up shifting about a 1/6 of an inch over to, I guess it would be the right based on what I was looking there. And I just filled it in with a little bit of pen to try and help see the letters. So that was another issue we had. Then we figured we would try a resin cap. Now the problem with this was we were trying to make a dual shell design. So, I mean, you can see it with the A. I'll use two of them here. You would have your bottom shell and your top shell, and this would sit over top, just like that. It wasn't a bad idea, per se. I definitely think it had potential, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to do it. I think you can actually see it on these, right? Are these dual shell? Now, so you see we moved away from the dual shell, and we moved to insert. I say this was all May, but we moved to inserts for the letters, which has its own problems with tolerances, and the 3D printers, because we're working with such precise tolerances, is what we've got here. Neither one is really, I should actually check and make sure I'm putting audio through, because I've never done music before, so I wouldn't actually know if I've got my audio coming through. I'm gonna turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone. Where's my channel? There's my channel. Okay, yeah, I do have audio. Okay, and I have audio coming through in there. So if I have audio coming through in there, I should have it on Twitch as well. Oh, we should, yeah, what was his name? It was Forehead? Nolan Pilgrim made an entire lo-fi DMCA free playlist. And so that's what we're listening to right now. It's just called lo-fi, but also so far I've been really enjoying all these tracks. So one of the more successful options but keycaps we've had was we had a very we thinned everything out because they were way too tall. So if you compare this dual shell to what this dual shell would have been, you can see the height difference. We were thinning that out in order to try to make it fit better. And we ran into a new issue of there was so little filament being used on the bottom, and because the stem was on the bottom side, not being attached directly onto not being attached onto the build plate wasn't as much of a problem, but it was causing issues with warping and not holding a very precise line, which, as you can imagine, when we're working with these tight tolerances, caused quite a few issues. So we pretty much went ahead and abandoned that. I didn't touch this for probably a year and a half, apart from trying to make some letters, but I just never got back into the makerspace in order to print these out, because these are a slightly different design, I want to say. These aren't the latest design. My computer is definitely heating up. That's one thing, is this, even though it is web-based, it's still very CPU heavy, just like any 3D modeling program. And so it's going to get warm in here when this thing heats up. Let me go. Let's see, we've got a lot. Oh, Nebraska, right. Now one thing, I've been looking at this to try and get inspiration from. I don't remember who this is, but someone made a 3D printed Bakeneko case. The Bakeneko 65. So I've been looking at this because the Bakeneko 65 PCB is probably what I'm going to use if I build a full-on keyboard that's 3D printed for my final thesis. And I've been looking at some of the reviews of what people have been saying, and one thing is that there is a lot of flex that comes with this, and a lot of people don't like it. So I think one thing I'd look at is maybe some interlocking, like teeth going all the way across to try and help reduce the flex. I know that's what, you know, this little tooth right here and this piece, the USB-C port kind of is. That's where that's supposed to be. Obviously, you can also see the size of this thing. It does have to be printed in multiple pieces, and that also is one thing that could maybe cause a little issue for the flex. Is, I mean, it's in multiple pieces, and we can't build too far even with the teeth unless we made them separate structures and printed them even possibly diagonally to maximize our space on the work plane. And we would just lay them across. This is, what was that? Was that space for the weight? That might have been the spot for the weight to go in there. We obviously don't have a weight. We could possibly look at trying to get a metal weight in there, or even on the bottom side. We have a CNC machine. We don't have a milling machine. If I had a milling machine, oh, you know what? I could stop by STEM. I'd bet you Joe would. I might have to convince Joe and Brian to let me use their milling machines over there. And I'd have to have the files ready and show them and be like, this is what we're doing. I'm going to have to get a product, or now the question is, do I want to laser? We could laser cut, not laser cut through the metal. Actually, we might be able to if it's thin enough. I know John's got one back at his workshop, so we could maybe ask him if he could take it. But for a design on the back, I'll need to commission an artist to try and make a design to put on the back. So that way we have our logo on there, or some sort of logo, which means I'll need an artist to design a logo. And if it's going to be about yay big, let's say, what are these? Are these mills? I want to say these are mills. It's been so long since I've worked in here. Yeah, these are mills. Okay. Hold on, can I change to inches? I forget how to change to inches. Settings. Okay, because we are Stupid American. Make default, please. Alright, and we're gonna sample this up at a 10 by 10. Nope, not 100. Settings. We're gonna make that our default. Turn off shadows as well to help ease the stress on. No, we want to keep the grid. Yeah, okay, that looks good. Make that my default. Yeah, that helps ease up the strain on the CPU. But so if we're talking about maybe that's 1 inch, yeah, I think a 1 inch by 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, a 1 by 5 metal weight on the back. That does add a little bit of complexity with the hardware, and we're gonna need to find something that you could screw into. So some sort of standoff possibly that would allow for you to screw into there. And one other thing is I was looking at trying to make different color top cases, which would help with, but you know what? We would need a larger printer for that. So now the question is, do we just size down from a 65%? I wonder how big is a Prusa? Because this is what we've got over in the makerspace. What's print size of that? 9 by 8. Okay. So you're 9 by 8. Yeah, I guess, whatever. Prusa i3. You know, technically we did just upgrade them to Mark IVs, but I don't think there was any difference to the build plate size. I think it was only on the upgrade to the mechanics or to the motors. Yeah, because this is what we have Mark III. So we would need an XL to be able to print this in one piece. I'm sure Brett would love to have an XL Prusa. The question is, how do we convince the dean to buy a new printer after we just spent $25,000 on printers, I think? Trying to get resin and ceramic printers. We probably spent more than $25,000, and we're getting a UV printer as well. That's another, oh, the cheap ones are $10,000, I think. But so this is going to come later. The goal is to have one of these built by the end of the semester, which I don't think would be too hard. Now I'm not going to, because we're going to do this at a showcase, a senior showcase. I don't want to show off someone else's work. That's the last thing I want to do, is show off someone else's work at a showcase, which is meant to be everything I've done. So we're not going to use this. Like I said, we are going to use a Bakeneko PCB though. The 65%. So we have the dimensions of something. I don't have to go through the process of trying to make it hot swappable, all that stuff. That is far beyond what I'm trying to do. I'm only trying to make a case. So anyone who, if you can buy the PCB, I'd make the cases to the PCB, or I'd just make keycaps. So that's where that's at right now, which is, it's not there. This is looking at someone else's design and saying, hey, what do I need to do to make this, not make this my own, but make a design, you know, taking into account the fact that I would have never said, hey, I need to consider that this needs to be in multiple pieces. Not something that would have come to my mind. Another thing that I remember from, ooh, don't do that. Another thing I remember from Hipio's video, because Hipio made this. This is where I first saw this one. was very hollow. So now that makes me wonder, do I make... Now this would reduce the rigidity probably even further. But what if I made these inside plates separate so I could put like maybe kill mat or something underneath? And how... Well, I could probably put kill mat just underneath this anyways. It's gonna feel cheap no matter what I do unless I add like a veneer to it. Galvanized square steel beams with eco-sustainable veneers and screws I borrowed from my aunt. That's how we'll build this thing. Should actually probably go and do some work now on this. I say that. Oh wait, is the Bakaneko 60%? You can see. I started messing with this. Are you glitching through the... You are, you're just glitching through that. Wait, I don't want to mess anything up now. I don't know what I was doing with this. I mean, that is clearly... Oh, I see what I'm doing here. This would get stretched across. We take that and we merge those together, and now all of a sudden we have what looks way more like a keyboard. Okay. How big are you? You're more than 10 by 10. No, you're not. You're on the snap grid still. You're on millimeters. Inches, default. That's 29. I need 10. And 10. Make default. You're not far off from being... If we tilt that? Oh, you're so close to fitting. The only thing is now I'm gonna be saying, hey, do I need to go for like a 40? Do I go for a 40% keyboard to make it fit? I'll have to take measurements of the build plates, but I'm gonna trust what we saw on Google saying that they wouldn't fit on there. Because I definitely don't want to be making... I don't think I want to make this a multiple piece keyboard. Because if I do that, I'm going to run into a lot of the issues that I don't really want to run into. But that means we might need a new piece to make the keyboard. And I know I can get one of the lab techs just to immediately agree to that. He would think it's a great idea. And I could get my professor to agree to it, but the people who have the money and the other lab tech who actually runs the lab, they're the people I've got to convince. What is this? Okay, that's right. I was just looking at the USB-C port. I did that. You're the V2, that's right. Okay. Now this is this should be the most up to date. Yeah. Okay. So now you can see what we're trying to do here. So you are supposed to have angled down, but you're not. You're not angled down. But what we're trying to do now is building plates. Plates that still would have a small insert in them. But building the plate instead of doing a dual shell kind of build. Now, the reason we're doing it this way is that with a 3D printer, you want your detailed stuff that's not supposed to be messed up to be facing up. So I need to print out this whole thing to see how that works. That is going to present an issue because that... Oh yeah, that's a problem. Also, you don't actually extrude, do you? And there's no easy way to just say select this face and extrude. That's one of the downsides with working on Tinkercad, is that there is no like extrude button. I don't think. What are you? Yeah, no, you're a line. Yeah, there is no extrude, but it is much more user friendly, I think, because it is just shapes. So it's almost like Legos. I think there is actually a Lego mode. Yeah. So you can see there is a Lego mode that I think really helps cement itself as like a kind of kids user friendly web design or 3D modeling, and it's web based so everyone can use it, which is why I use it, because I was like, this is what I know. Even though I have Blender, even though technically I get access to Maya, I do this on here. Now when it comes down to it, and I go to, I think I'm gonna render the keyboard first. I feel like that was on, I think rendering was on my calendar. Having a render to show different materials and making a promotional video, because I was planning on using veneers and everything in order to help hide the fact that not hide the fact that it's 3D printed, but keep the cost low, but increase the customizability. But so I would need a 3D model of the keyboard, which if I make the file and I turn it into an STL file, I can bring the STL file into Tinkercad if I want to work on it. Probably vice versa. Maybe not so much no, definitely vice versa if I work in Blender, because Blender is way more powerful. You know, you get access to actually grabbing edges and lines and faces and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll continue to work on that, because this, since it's it's web-based, you know, it's on the internet, everything's saved digitally. I can work on that on my laptop. I can work on it here. I can work on it here. I can work on it if I ever bring my my other PC to school, so I have something that's a little more powerful. I have all these things that I can do. Whereas with Blender, I would need to bring a thumb drive with me with the file, and that risks corruption, that risks getting lost. So I'd rather keep this digital and end up working on the Blender file, which would itself end up being on a thumb drive, but you know, maybe save that to the cloud as well, Google Drives. That way I don't risk losing that. But the makerspace doesn't open training up until next week. I have time. I have the time to be able to sit here and just be like, yeah, I want to do this. I have that time, but I need to get this done, because if not, we're very quickly going to run out of that time that we're talking about having. I'm just going to need to figure out how to extrude that, unless I think I might need to break this up. Yeah, so you can see how that all works right there. So this is going to need to be, I'm not sure I'm going to need that on you. You might not be needed. You're just going to extend across. So long as you don't come out, you'll be fine. The only thing is, so I'm not going to be able to see underneath until I do this. So you see, now we can see through. Why don't you extend all the way over? You cut through that. So we're just taking another look at this. When we merge that back together, so now maybe is my best bet. What is my best bet? We have two ways that we could do this. We could try and fill this space, or we could try and build, or we could try and fill, we could turn this into a gap and fill in that. Which might be easier because that's simple shapes. Just that cross section. I would just need to get rid of that. Great. Not what I wanted to move. So we would get rid of you. And extend you all the way across. Now bring you back in. Bring you back in. We're going to take a look at that before we do anything else. Okay, yeah, that looks right. So if that's correct, then we need to get rid of that. I need to make this solid on the bottom and turn these into gap blocks. Okay. So you can actually stay, believe it or not. I just gotta make sure. Yeah, you're clipping through up there. Is that because you're too far in over there? You're too high up? Or are you just gonna clip through on every corner? You're gonna clip through on every corner. So we're gonna have to manually tell you to you're gonna go 13.5 is what you'll do. That does not go all the way over. So we're gonna need to make, we'll have to make separate, smaller locks that'll go in there. You'll turn to 13. So that would be the glitching he's talking about. He did talk about that in the comments on there. This is definitely a stronger coffee, you can tell. I think I'll need to just about double the coffee grinds in my cold brew. But it's very smooth. There is potential in that. I don't know if I would do a pumpkin pie flavor again. Maybe I would add, I have some blueberry syrup that I've made. Blueberry and strawberry. I think I would add that. Cold foam's not terrible. A little flavorless. I think it might actually need a little sweet, a little something sweet in there. Now we go ahead and make you. You're gonna be 13.5. Come on. Fine. Wants to play the less fun way. Okay. We can see that it is in fact cutting through there. Oh, you are huge. Why are you working on that plane? shrink you up. I do have to see how tall you are. 13, 13. That's not the measurement I want to see. 1.52. Okay. That is oddly specific. I don't know where I came up with that number for this, but we're going to go ahead and make it. 1.52. So now you need to be... No, we won't do that until we get that lined up. So you're going to come up. We're going to end up duplicating this thing to have 4 of them. That is at least the plan. I need to get you in line. That's not the right one to grab. This is going to be the hard part. Trying to figure out where that is in line with that. Gonna be kind of I'm gonna have to grab it a couple times, I think. Okay. So are you in line? No, you seem like you're... I can't tell from here. No, you're not. Hold on, what if I made you 1.5? Okay, that doesn't work. What if I made you 1? Okay, instead of 1, what about like 1.3? 1.4. Still too tall. You see, this is the problem. Since I can't see where this one is, I'm kind of playing a guessing game. That's again 1.4. 1.3 is what we want. That's pretty close. And since this is what I'm doing is realistically just a game of rinking until it clips into the corners without clipping out through the corner. I guess realistically I might have been able to make you 12.5. I think 12.5 is what I'm looking for. That looks good to me. I think we've got the first one in place. Now, obviously, once we get all of this in place, we'll just continue working on that keycap. We'll get one of these printed out. That's all I really need for the design prototype, is to have a single one of these keycaps printed out. We are going to need to actually design the plate. Not just, which honestly it might be better if I make a whole new top instead of what I'm doing. Because my idea is that you would be able to have customizable plates, both with legends and without legends. Where are you? Okay. Where's your turn thing? Yeah, but there we go. Turn you 90. I think that's properly in line. Yeah. Now that we have you. There we go. Wait, yeah. Instead of being a little stupid like I was doing, like I was being there. You're not reaching to the end. Are all of them doing that? No, you reach the end and you reach the end. Okay. You're just gonna need a little coercing to get over there. -5. Yeah, just like that. So long. You're poking through. That can probably be fixed with. Five, we're gonna make you 12-4. Now you. Oh wait, are you just poking through? Thought I just saw you. Oh no, it's just something on my screen. Okay, I'm a little stupid. Okay. Let's see, do we have you poking through anywhere? I'm not seeing you. Yeah, we look good. So now let's take a look at that. Wait. You. No, not you. You need to be extended all the way across. Can I get rid of you? I don't think you're necessary. Hold on. Actually, you'll be necessary. Sorry, we can create a peg to get a little. Will that? I don't know. We might be able just to get away with that. And that simplifies the bottom a lot. I don't know if you're. I wasn't sure if that was going to catch everything. All right. So they don't work like I thought they would, which is actually fine, because what we're talking about doing anyways is just taking this, shrink you, I can show you all my new idea that I have here. Just basically just that. For making a plate. Hey, you're a little tall there. Still a little tall. So that would be the plate. And I'll basically take you up to you. You're gonna become whole. You're. Hold on, I gotta get above the grid, I think. I can't really see above the grid. This is the problem, is because I have off-size shapes, this doesn't fit like how I want it to. Right? No, that might be lined up. You know what? I think that's lined up. I mean, we'll find out when I can finally get back into the makerspace. Okay. So you're one tall. Are you running into anything? You are. You are hitting that right now. So what happened? How does that look if we just move that up there? You break through that and you make the plate. Here's the question though, are we okay with this? This might play into our hands for... let me rotate that 180. This might play into our hands for what we want to do with the plate, especially if we then take... just need a little hole on that plane. We need to make somewhere for a user to be able to swap their plate, the face plate that they're going to have on their keycap. And in order to do that, we just need a little spot for them to wedge, say, a flathead screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver under. And that's going to be just on this side. I'm going to need to figure out the sizing on that, perhaps. We'll say it needs to be, well, for one, I don't want it to be that high. Where is, do I need to go underneath? I do need to go underneath. There we go. And instead of being an extra millimeter longer, you're going to be, yeah, you'll be just half a millimeter longer. No, you're gonna need to be an extra 0.25 of a mil longer. 2.75. And I think that's going to be enough of a gap for anyone to be able to fit a screwdriver in. Why are you that size? Okay, I'm gonna make you 3.5. No, not 13.5. Just 3.5. And then 3 from here. There we go. I think that's a good enough gap. I'm okay with merging that for now. So now we have our new plate, which will slot right on into here. The only question is, you look a little thin. I don't know how you'll print. You're gonna need a lot of supports, which, to be fair, you give that. And you don't, I wouldn't say you give that. It's also going to be interesting to see how this would hook up onto a switch, because that's not a very deep stem, very shallow stem. It might play to our advantage. We'll find out. I have the ability to just go back and change the length of the stem just by moving where the hole block is, that is telling the stem where to not exist. So it'll be, I can definitely change that up. That won't be a problem at all. I'm a little bit quiet, I know that. I can turn my gain up. That's a little bit better. It is 11:56. In case you're wondering, I'm working on the cold brew coffee, not the cold brew, the iced coffee now. I think I mentioned that it was definitely much stronger than the cold brew, but the cold brew was nice and smooth. I wish I had a printer in here so I could actually figure out how this works. See if what I'm thinking translates to an actual physical product. If not, I might need to. I've got a class in the Makerspace on or just next week, so I could probably stop by there. But we technically have designed the product, so we'll see, you know, what does the professor think? How does that kind of work out in that regard? Then it's going to be testing, you know, is this product going to be too fragile? Because these supports here look really thin. That's razor thin. I mean, I don't even know if that's a millimeter. That might not be enough of a support. We can possibly solve that just by, I mean, even you're not that big. You're just wide. There's going to be supports that build down from underneath. And you're like that too. Does that have any effect on you? I don't think it will. But why are you like that? Kind of want to know. That doesn't make sense for you to be like that. You have two things telling you where to cut off. Why do I have two telling you where to cut off? That's mildly confusing. Why did I do it this way? Hold on. Why are you in there? Let's see. If I remove this, I just cut back on all that? I feel like I should be able to. This is the magic of the... Let's compress that down so the shapes are a little bit smaller. This is the magic of Control V. What in the world just happened? Okay. I'm not sure why that... Why is that happening now? Okay. I think this is going to be one of those we don't mess with it moments. Because it works. Somehow, some way. It just works. And I definitely don't want to mess with this anymore. If it's possibly going to break it. I think I may actually make a... Can I copy this? No. That's not what I want to do. I might need to go back to my profile or my menu in order to make a copy of this. But I would definitely like to have multiple instances of this file saved to the cloud, so that way I can then move it onto a flash drive, because I don't have access to, or I don't have the ability to add a flash drive on this PC. I need an SD card reader in order to do that, but that's what the laptop's for. That old laptop with an MX 150 in it. And then, you know, the CPU is fine. It's an 8th gen, but it's an i7. Like an 8665U, something like that. I've kept it around for the touchscreen. I'm thinking about replacing the battery in it and maybe giving it a fresh wipe, so that way because I mean the thing is 5-6 years old. There's probably a lot of junk storage built up on it, so it'd probably be good to get it off of whatever it has. So I've been slowly moving a lot of my files and stuff off of my laptop, man. You'd assume I'd be able to think straight with the amount of coffee I've drank. Surprised my heart hasn't exploded, honestly. Because how much caffeine is in... Oh, I wonder how much caffeine's in one of those packets. Let me go check. So I've got these little pre-workout package. Now the question is, does it say how much caffeine is in one of these? I'm going to assume it might not. Oh, it does. It's just very, very tiny. And I late night and my contacts are dry. Okay, this is gonna be interesting trying to read this. Alright, let's see. Serving size, 1 stick. It's got calories, 5 carbs. Ghost Legend All Out. Citrulline. Extend release caffeine. 139 milligrams delivering 100 milligrams of caffeine. Is that it? Only 100 milligrams caffeine? Looks like only 100 milligrams caffeine. Honestly, way lower than I thought it was going to be. They told us. They said if you've never taken one of these before, then only take half a stick. I did not. I took a full stick. Was not that bad. But that might be because my heart's already shot. Alright. I don't want to build multiple of these only to find out that my test product doesn't work. So it might be time now actually to move on to trying to start designing the keyboard. Only thing, we gotta look it up. What is Bakeneko? Oh, is it a 60? PCB. Sam's Club. Temu. Canon keys. This is what I want. It's the 65. It is the 65. So, the fact that we're making the 60%, I think the 60% was when I was like, oh, I'm going to try and make a PCB. And then I started doing the research on how much work it is. No, don't want a free product guide. Thank you very much. And when I finally went ahead and did all the research, I went, oh, that is a lot. And I don't have the patience or the skill set in order to make a hot swappable PCB. But so we are going to need to make a 65% keyboard, which means I'll need to get the size of the dimensions from the other one, so that way I can kind of figure that out. Because the insides, you can do some stuff to the insides, can't do a whole lot to change them. And I want to pull out as much, I want to remove as much of the manufacturing process as I can. So per se, if not needing to include a standoff. Yeah, not needing to include a screw and standoff. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking at the Bakeneko as my PCB that I want to use for this, because of the fact that I wouldn't need a standoff on it, which cuts down on the room for error in terms of making the keyboard. Because if I do that, I need to make sure that my stand-in has a straight hole in it, and that it's inserted at the correct angle, so that way the PCB doesn't get flexed or strained or stressed in any fashion and doesn't short. So having the Bakeneko with, I think it's a gasket mount, of course I was just on it, Bakeneko PCB. think it's, yeah, you can see right there. That's spots for the gaskets. Which, you know, does make me think I'm gonna need to get... I'm gonna need to get the gaskets for that. Right? Keyboards, Bakeneko. Bakeneko 60, O-ring gummy. That's right. I would have to either make or get the plates as well. That's another thing that I didn't think about. That would be the easier part, I think. Because that is just finding where the switches are and pretty much just putting a hole over it. Oh, but you know what? I'm not gonna make... I mean, I could make 2 plates that... Hold on, we're gonna channel our inner Thor here. So if we have our PC or our keyboard here, oops, that was really bad. I would probably design, imagine this is when designing the plate. If I was to make my own plate, I'd split it down the middle, something like this. But now if we compare that to, now let's open this up, tinker this, because this splits a certain way, right? No, it doesn't split down the middle. That might be a way to reduce flex in multiple multiple piece keyboard. If this crosses over the center gap like that, or the plate, if that crosses over the center gap, and imagine this pink is the board, so the case itself. Imagine if that is cut to go down and around, and crosses over here, doing the opposite cut. So I think just simplify the look of this. So basically just say it cuts down like that for now. Yeah, just like that. Let's just erase that real quick, because this just needs to basically cut across that way. So if we do this, that's a good way probably for us to reduce the flex in the board, even if it's in multiple pieces. Now, the one thing that I haven't been looking at here is, obviously there's the USB-C port that's going to sit right here. So it's going to need to fall. It's going to fall in that space. And I don't know how that would affect that. I'm going to need to go watch Hipio's video on building the Bakeneko 65. That'll be the interesting one to see. I forget if he uses a plate or if he buys a plate. Or, I mean, if he prints a plate or if he buys a plate. Obviously, he uses a plate. But if we can print a plate, the material is going to be interesting because the plate thickness isn't going to be super high. And that means that because it's 3D printed, it could be very fragile. So maybe we need to try to convince the dean that we need a carbon fiber printer. Just saying. I think it'd be great for the department. You know? Carbon fiber. F1 cars are made of carbon fiber. They're super strong and technologically advanced. We want to be like Formula One. We want to be on the cutting edge of technology in our department. So we need a carbon fiber 3D printer. I think we've got a great argument here. I think we can convince the dean that we need a carbon fiber 3D printer. Take a shot every single time I say carbon fiber 3D printer. Take a shot every single time I say a 3D printer. You will die. You'll drown of alcoholism. Doesn't sound like the worst way to go. I'm joking. Do not drink yourself to death, kids. I tried that once on stream. It's not a fun time. I'll tell you that. I went to say something and end up joking. Oh, hold on. Let me grab a new page. Come over here. What is he looking at? One of my buddies in class is looking at building it's like an infinity mirror lamp. This thing. He wants to build one of these. And so we kind of were like, you know, this is cool, but he's talking about making it 6 foot tall. And we're like, that's a lot of work because you need to figure out how to build this. You got to prototype it. You have to fund it. You have to design, build. My suggestion to him on this was to figure out how to basically make it like the Lian Li Unifan, the one that has the screen on it, and turn that into like a giant D20, or I guess a shrunken down D20, but something that has an LCD screen in it that you could play an animation on or hook up to basically a dice rolling program, because that's something else he was thinking about doing, is a little bit of programming. And to me that's really cool because we are all absolutely nerds in this class and we're like, fuck yeah, D&D. So the Lian Li Unifans, I have one in my computer. I want to get more. They're just so expensive. Hold on, it's not the Unifans, it's the Uni Infinities. That's not the one that has the screen though. Infinity Fan, Infinity LCD. I mean, you'll get what I'm going at here. So this is what it is. Basically, imagine there's an LCD screen right here. This is, I don't think you would be able to keep the infinity mirror effect is the only thing. And that's what makes this thing what it is. So, you know, that might be a problem. Unless we could figure out if there is something like an infinity mirror LCD display. Instead of saying figure that out. So that doesn't look like it would work like that unless, hold on, I don't know how that works, but I've got some things going in my head here. Hello? Oh, that's an infinity mirror with a thing in it. Okay. Hold on, yo. Brain's trying to turn here. Don't save that. Okay. I gotta pull this thing back up so I can see it. Because there's no way I'm gonna be able to. Where did it go? Where did I lose it? Huh? Where did it go? Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's why. Okay, there we go. That would explain why I'm a little bit stupid. Okay. So, guess we're gonna look at a side-on panel here. Only thing is, I don't know if this is something that is readily available and cheap. So if the idea is that, come on. So if this is your front mirror and this is your back mirror, basically light is bouncing from one way to another and creating this infinity mirror effect that fades as it bounces back and forth until it gets to the center, and eventually it just doesn't bounce anymore. This is a one-way mirror. Can you project something over here? Like, is there a C? Do we go with an... Not invisible. Is there... So let's see. LCD. I was about to say LCD display. It's a liquid crystal display. That's what it stands for. So we have an LCD. Is there a transparent LCD? That's our question. Because if there's a transparent LCD, then effectively that's what we can do. We can just wire that in. You know, if you look at the shape of it, it's got all the side and stuff. There's these thick, I say thick, they're not that thick, but thick connecting pieces between the panels. You know, it kind of looks like a soccer ball. So, you know, the wires will, obviously, the wires and the lights will run all through here. So you'd be able to book in an LCD display in that spot. It's going to be in the same position, just a little bit thicker. Instead of the lights being right here facing this way, the LCD display would be right here facing this way, facing out towards you. Because if that's the case, then yeah, you definitely can have this like rolling animation inside where like a dice pops in and rolls around for a second or two and then displays, hey, you rolled a 20, hey, you rolled a 1, and you can have special animations for those. That's all like behind stuff, but then you need to get an animator or find a program or something like that. It's early enough in the semester, I can focus on someone else's project and it won't be an issue. Like, this is nothing wrong with this at all. I say nothing wrong as if there would be anything wrong. But I'm not losing, I mean, I'm losing time. I'm not losing really much anything by trying to help brainstorm what he can do on this. So while, is there a transparent LCD? Transparent LCD display. Yes. It is very expensive, and I doubt it's going to come in the shapes we're looking at. Everything is square on that. I mean, that's got a little shape to it. So we're looking at transparent LCD displays. So, you know, I thought I saw Carter PCs were talking about one of these. But yeah, imagine this. Then just with the one-way mirror right behind it. The only thing is going to be that this is expensive. and you'd only be able to have, and say only, you'd realistically only be able to afford to have a small one of these on one side, and it would have to be square. Maybe square. I don't know if it has to be square. No, that's just an adhesive LED. We don't need to be looking at how an LCD screen works right now. That's not what we need. Where was that one I saw? There was the one we were just looking at that had right here, where you can see it's got a little bit of a shape to it, which makes me think, hey, maybe, you know, you can get one of these that is shaped, but do you have to order this custom made to the shape you need? Because if you do, that's going to take a while. That's going to add prohibitive levels of cost that college students probably not going to be able to fund. And if it's a product, it makes the product out of range for people who are probably going to be able to buy it. Maybe in another 5-10 years, when transparent LCD displays, if they take off, come down in price, maybe then you could return to this idea and try and make it. But right now, just based on seeing the price of some of these, yeah, I'd rather, maybe. No, that's a projector screen, I think. First off, that's Alibaba. Transparent LED display. Flexible. I mean, if it's flexible, maybe. It'll be interesting for sure to see if he can pull this off. If he could pull this off, then I don't want to say that would be a miracle. I think it would be a wonderful thing. Yeah, see, like this is cool. Get all these walking around instead of seeing straight up billboards. Yeah, like that. See, this is the type of display board that companies need to be investing in outside. The only problem is they probably break really easy. Not great for cost. But I mean, so we're looking at this basically in a hypothetical kind of view space right now. If he was able to pull this off, yeah, I mean, that's going to be really cool. I don't think he's going to be able to pull this off just based off of cost alone. I don't think he's going to be able to convince any of the deans to really give him the funds for, well, we have one dean. He's going to have to convince the chair. He's got the professor probably convinced. But the professor will say yes to anything. Same thing with the one shop tech. Like he's thinking way too big. Definitely needs to pull back on what he's thinking about in terms of size. On this thing, 6 foot is not going to be anything manageable. 6 inches is probably more where he needs to be looking at in that range. You know, something the size of like a phone screen, maybe even smaller on each panel, because the cost is still going to go up as you what's his face? The cost will still go up more and more as you have to have multiple screens. He is talking about cutting back from a 20-sided, I guess, dice is what that thing really was, to a 12-sided dice, which I think is smart for him to do, but it's still a lot for him to try to do, because I don't know how difficult setting up an infinity mirror is. How perfect do you have to really be with your setup on it in terms of the gapping and all that? If he could pull it off, though, this would be a hell of an art project. I hope the college ended up keeping it and displaying it somewhere. These things are really cool. Infinity mirrors, that's why I got one. Because it's just infinite lines. Not infinite lines. But just these. Going all the way up. It looks so damn cool. Oop, I didn't go far enough down on that one. Yeah, that's not exactly how that one would look. As you kind of get looking more straight on with these, they sort of lose their shape. And so it kind of becomes just like a blurred, just like, not like that, but it does kind of just become a little bit of a blurred color mass on the side. Whereas yeah, on the side. Whereas when I'm looking at this from an angle, I can clearly see each one of the rings, which is cool. I want to get more of them in here because they look so damn cool. And they made them that they run in reverse now instead of just running in the one direction. They're 20 bucks each. They're so damn expensive, but they look so damn good. I mean, Lian Li knows what they're doing, and they can charge any price they want because they know what they're doing. And people like me will still say, hey, I want to buy that. Because, I mean, there is competition for them. But I don't think there's nothing that I think fits my case's design as well as that Lian Li fan. Alright, but enough on my classmates thing. Don't save that. So we come back to here. We're gonna have to figure out the length on this. Exactly just how long is this? Which thankfully we have a work plane that will tell us exactly how long it is. Which we are we on? We aren't on the ground. That's not gonna help me. Oh, that's right. They built it this way. So they have their bottom case is what actually angles. That was actually smart of them. It's another thing I'll need to take into consideration. So are we... I guess the easiest way to make sure we're aligned is just to drop this down. Yeah, see, I wasn't all the way down. There we go. And snap grids were an 1/8 of inches. So we're looking... It's starting from that? It is starting from that. Right? No. Oh yeah, it's starting from that. That's 0, 0. Little shy of 6 inches across. I mean, a little over 6 inches across. Just about, we'll call it 6 2/8, just to make it easy for now. On going halfway down. So if that's the case, then we can just about safely assume it's about 12.5 inches long. Which maybe they have a size on here. Oh, they do have extra plate. That's an extra 23 bucks though. Silicone Kion bump buns? Is that the... I think I might need to get that because that's like the gasket. And I'm definitely not gonna be able to produce those, but they're only $5. That's definitely something I can convince the board to buy me, and if not, I can buy that. Now that we've got, I think we have most of it sorted away with what we're talking about doing. Now it's just a matter of figuring out how we're actually going to design this thing to work. Because with what I'm talking about doing with that cut down the middle, Tinkercad's definitely not going to be the definitely not going to be the easiest program to try to build that in. This might be a Blender kind of thing. I definitely, my mason jar list, I definitely did better on the iced coffee than I did on the cold brew. That is for sure. No arguments with either though. Little places for me to improve, especially with flavoring. What's his face? The grinds that I used didn't really have flavoring, and I didn't add enough, so they lost pretty much all of it. Wasn't very good in terms of that regard, but I'm thinking about like the texture and the smoothness of the coffee. Overall, pretty solid. Adding the paper filter in there does remove some of the good oils though, so that's something I'm gonna have to think about. And I think getting some coffee that I can grind in order to make it more of a coarse coffee, I think will help. So I don't need to use a paper filter, I can use a mesh filter, and less of the oils will get trapped doing that. Now I wonder, in regards to this, yeah, we're skipping over that, man. That was not good. Nope, we didn't want to be on this one. Okay. I wonder if when we go to make ours, if we make the dock, these edges, if we make them run way longer down the sides, will that solve some of the instability issues, along with the fact that we're talking about making this kind of cut across, so coming across here and then doing the same thing. I don't know if that would solve the instability issues, but it might provide a level of sort of maybe reprieve when compared to this design. The other option is basically make this shorter a little bit and just build a big plate going across in here that we just smush down into this. Maybe, extend this across this little trench that's going on here, extend this across all the way in order to make a weight and add just, a little bit of weightiness to a keyboard is going to make it feel good. And so adding, if we do that, one, it could increase the stability a little bit, the rigidity. It would do it up here. Maybe we need to make a second one down here. It's going to be interesting. I definitely think we're going to need two. But we might be fine in terms of having a shorter weight down here. Maybe only if this one we're talking about having, say, 6 inches long, having this one at only 3 inches long, shortening this up, because this is a larger gap back here. That's why there's probably going to be more instability and less rigidity back there, basically, is what we're getting at. I love how far behind my YouTube display is for where I am in the stream. I should be taking notes down of everything that I'm talking about doing here instead of just rambling on. But because of the fact that I'm also kind of just, since I'm streaming, I'm not taking notes. the stream is basically my notes. I can go back, watch it, and sort of see what all I said. I mean, it has been over an hour of streaming, so you know that is kind of going to call make it a little of a slog to try to sit through in order to watch. But you know, it kind of is what it is. So how long are you? Let me turn you back to be at 45. Let me give you a quick 90. I prefer you to face me this way. Or not 90, a quick 180. Wrong one. You're 11.811 inches. That's not far off the Bakaneko size. Wait, hold on. When I come back into here, you don't fit exactly right. It's whatever. We're being rough with that. Okay, no, you are noticeably shorter. Yeah, you're shorter by about 4/8, 3/8. So, yeah, you're shorter by about 3/8, which again is not that far. These are overlapping a little bit, so we're just gonna round up to 4/8. So I am a little over on this. We'll call it half an inch. We're half an inch shorter that way, but we're pretty much the same size this way. Realistically, the lines are showing through. There we go. One thing is we'll need to make this level and compare it to you. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's not far off. One thing I am seeing is they camfered the edges, which looks really, it looks really good, especially compared to the sharp edges we have here. I don't know if we can camfer them in, what's his face? I don't know if we can camfer edges here. No, we can, it would have to be on a radius though. Which is going to be rough because you're got to be on a solid block and you're already in edited shape. So I wonder if I brought this into Blender, maybe I gain access to the ability to camfer the edges. And so since I'm comfortable working in Tinkercad more than I really am in Blender, I could possibly just, you know, build most of this and then do touch-up details in Blender. Kind of see how that goes. This thing's warping on because I have a curved display. When I'm looking at it, it's very much like shaped like that. Just on screen. Can we return you back to being at R0? There you go. Yeah, now you're at 0. Which that is something I didn't take into account though. Is that the board is not, the base of the board is not at the same angle as the top. The bottom is what needs to be, I think what needs to be angled, like how they've done it. So, you know, that could maybe be as simple as taking this guy and basically just moving it underneath. Like that. I mean, not like we merge. Whoops. There we go. Merge those together. Where'd my base go? Ah, right. Base is no longer there. Just a bit of a problem. Okay. So we need to do that. Whoa. Get rid of you. Ooh, wrong one. Bring that up. Merge those two together. Okay. Next, also, let's make this 12.8 inches, sure. That looks about the same. No, wait, you're way longer now. There we go, 12.25. Now you're short. Sure. This is a rough thing. I'm not trying to get a 1-to-1. Yeah, that looks fine. Yeah. So now that we have that, just pretty much take you. And fill out this with that. Push you down. Yeah, we don't cut through. Oh, you're definitely not far enough forwards. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how we stack up size-wise. We're a little bit chunkier than they are. Again, might help with the rigidity problem. We'll see. We really are just prototyping today. And I don't want to start designing because as I'm looking over things, I mean, I technically started designing. I changed this. Speaking of which, I'm going to copy you real quick. I'm going to come back to you. So I have an extra instance of this. There we go. It's funny just how different they look. Now I wonder how does that look in terms of the, how does that look in terms of a typing experience? That front's a little high. Which would mean maybe you gotta, maybe I bring you up to say 2. What if we merge all that together? Well, now you're cutting through that. How does that work? Does that make you more aggressive? What am I missing here? That's why you don't look right. Okay. Okay, yeah, now that's right. So what if we had a 2 degree? So we've got a 2 degree, kind of extra tilt to it. Now means that the front is, don't mind the lip. That's not going to stay because we're not going to keep this. Now the front's not straight. That's why I made you like that. That's right. Okay. What about you? I mean, yeah, when you sit, you won't be straight per se, but you aren't going to be as aggressive as ours is. Why is that? Because that's when it's flat. Like, it looks natural like this. Is it because it's taller? Is it because mine's taller? Like, when I shrink it, does it look more natural? Yeah, when I shrink it, it does look a little bit better. It still looks a little more aggressive than you. That might be because of the fact that the lines are just a little more, they're a little sharper. Oh, let's try a different color. Maybe that's what's messing with me. I will say it does look a little bit softer though. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit softer. We're definitely gonna need to camfer the edges, which I could do with a little kind of, I don't want to say shithousery of taking a block and basically moving it like a 1/100th of an inch down, which is what I'm currently doing. But I need to make an example. Hold on. There we go. Snap grid a 64th of an inch. Basically, we could camfer like this, which would mean that we could do all of it in Tinkercad, which, you know, I'm very much not opposed to doing everything in Tinkercad. It's probably my preferred way. Yeah. Let me blow you out real quick. Steps, no. Radius, there it is. Yeah, see, that's what I need. So this basically gives me free camphor. 0.01. Honestly, that's better than I could probably do. And I wouldn't have camphor down on the bottom just by nature of how that is going to get cut off. Honestly, that might be the simplest and easiest way to try and get camphor on here real quick. And color real quick. Go back to that brown. I like that brown. Yeah, I mean, that we softened up the edges a little bit and we get our rounding going on the backside. I think that's how we're going to end up doing this. Now that we have the camphor, if we bring this into Blender, we just basically cut it in half. Technically, hold on. We're continuing our shithousery. I was thinking about not continuing, but we are going to continue our shithousery. What we do, take you right there, make you the size of this thing. Nah, not that one. Is that the right way to do it? No, I think it's that way. Move you out of the way. Basically have this crossing over that middle point. We would merge you guys. Whoops, you did not go far enough down. Pull you to go all the way through. See, now we would basically just get a shape that we want. Then we just come to you and tell the Cookie Monster to go ahead and eat you too. Merge all that together. Okay. And so then I'm going to Control-C, Control-V that. And we're Control-C, Control-V that. We're going to turn you into a hole. Now we're going to have to play the fun game of getting this actually lined up. 1/8. No, I need you stepping at 1/64. That's got to be lined up. I'm gonna go with that's lined up. It was not lined up. Let me move you to get you onto a 64th grid. You know what? You might not be able to eat all of it because you're the exact same size as it. But you can see what we're going for there. Make you into another hole. Combine those two together real quick. Eat that. That's not what I wanted to do. No, that's also not what I wanted to do. You need to eat that. Now we need to zoom in to make sure we get. That looks about right. Again, when this is in Blender, we can do this more properly. Oh, my contact. Turn you into another hole. What is going on with you that you're not eating everything? Oh, let's try that real quick. Okay. Hold on. Let's take you and eat away at all this real quick. Beep, beep. And just come on over. There we go. Maybe it would have been better just to have taken the... It may have been simpler to have taken the other thing. The other shape that we used. Hold on. Let's actually go and do that real quick instead of trying to cut this out. Just give me a sec here. Why is there a line running through the middle of that? That's because there's an extra one of you. That would be why there's a line running through the middle of that. Okay. Alright, there we go. Let me control there we go. Mirror that. Can I mirror you? No. Nope. Basically what we're gonna do is just line you up. I think this is gonna be the simplest way to do this. Yeah. Merge those two together. So we can need the broken one. There we go. Merge you two together. Take you. Run you through this. And merge those together. This is essentially what we're thinking of for ours. Make you a different color brown. There we go. It's like Reese's. Yeah, because you see, that'll fit. Honestly, both those would fit on a single build plate. I mean, if I could get this done, I could probably put together this thing soon. Only thing is I might want to bring those back together and figure out the locking mechanisms for them. Or not the the locking mechanism, like the interconnecting locking mechanism, so they stay together while they're in one piece, and so that way all the cuts go through one single spot. That's one thing that they need here, is the ability just to say, hey, I want to cut this in two along this plane. Tinkercad if Tinkercad could add that, that would be good. That'd be huge. Technically I could probably say, hey, print half this if I cut it down the middle, but whatever. That'd have to be a really small cut. Like literally, I'm talking a millimeter across. Just anything to separate the two bodies. Maybe not even a millimeter, less than that. Something that a computer program would be able to recognize. Okay. Since we have the idea, honestly gonna merge those for now. Just so we can move them around freely, or at the same time. So now that we see how we're doing that, we're gonna build you. You are not gonna be that revolutionary of a shape. We're in inches. We're in inches. You're gonna be 6 inches across. Six inches across. Aren't gonna be that large. I think that's about center. 8.5. Eight and 7/8. We're not centered. I also wasn't looking at 8.5. I was looking at 8 and 7/8 there. So yeah, we're actually centered. It was relatively close to it. See, this is where turning on lower, what's his face, snapping. There we go. It's actually good. We're getting things aligned because I have less things to mess up this way. Maybe this is what I've needed to do for the other ones. Turn that one into a hole real quick. I'm gonna come up with that. We're gonna turn you down to 1/8 of an inch. I gotta go lower than 1/8 of an inch. 16. Yeah, that looks pretty dang close to flush. Basically take that, drop you in. Now, final product, maybe that's a metal weight. Solid, custom. You know, we'll make you gray to kind of symbolize, hey, that's a metal weight. So, you know, that's pretty good there. The only thing is we're gonna need to figure out where to put these. This is the thing that's I'm gonna struggle with. Which, I mean, yes, I might end up needing to basically overlay this on top of what I'm doing and just put in these guys, just real small, merge them into the wall, just like that. So that's going to have to happen. We're going to have to figure this out as well. Wrong thing. Tinker this. So 1/8 isn't enough. We need 1/16. Yeah, it's much better. Actually, wait, do you run all the way down on that? I have to see. How do you fit in? So there's that little slot right there. That looks like it gets screws or something. So, okay. So you slide in like that. Gotcha. Tinker this again. So that means I have this backwards. There we go. That's a full 180. Be good probably to get the dimensions of this and turn it into a hole, probably. There we go. Pull that back. As of right now, while we have, there is this model. Yeah, we can do that so we can just pull you out. Flip this around 180. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna have to make our own fitting, basically. And, you know, we were talking about extending that to try and increase rigidity a little bit. The question is, would that increase rigidity, or would more of this increase it? Because my thought process is that if these arms on the side are, if they're longer, like say you're going here, but instead of extending as short as you do, you actually extend out all the way. Whoops, grab the wrong thing. Like you extend all the way over there. Maybe not that far, because the other side wouldn't fit on the build plate. Yeah, so you see now we have that. There we go. I'm gonna make that shape real quick. Change the color. I don't like this red. I have no clue what color that was. We're gonna go with this. You know, the weight is right there, so I don't know if the weight is going to influence that or allow this to influence it as much as I'm thinking it could. The other thing is this is going to have to be much thicker. Why are you moving on 1/8 of an inch again? There we go. At least as a whole, it's gonna have to be thicker, which is pretty easy to do. Just like that. The only thing is let me turn you into shape real quick. And then just make you bigger again. Turn that into a hole. Merge those two together. And obviously for this, we will just create a small block. I'm gonna need to move I'm gonna call that the plug for now until I forget. Just move the plug out of the way. Slide this down. Let me check that it's not interfering with anything on the backside. Might be. So we might need to just turn you to 1/64. There we go. Now it's definitely not. And merge those two together. So now you should be able to just slide right on into this thing. Yeah. I mean, you're a little tall, but that's nothing we couldn't solve by taking you, tossing you there, and just cutting across the top of that. Just doing that. Now all of a sudden you fit in. We actually made way more progress on this than I thought we would tonight. I thought we'd get stuck on the keycaps. We got the keycaps started pretty quick. And now I mean, hell, that's almost a keyboard. Almost the case. Only thing is you're a little low. What we're gonna do, shrink you. Bring you this way. Basically right back behind this thing. First off, you're not seated right. There you go. It's a little bit better. There is going to be a size discrepancy, which is actually okay. At least it's okay with me. At least it's okay with me right now. I'm sure in however long I'm gonna be like, nope, can't handle the size, can't have that size discrepancy there. Yeah, and so now we just have a little cutout for that to allow for the USB-C to sit better. I think this is pretty much stage 1 keyboard. Like, we're gonna need the You're not centered. There we go. A little bit better. I don't know if it's still centered. You might need to come one more over. We might start off the design with just a straight cut down the middle, so that way we can make, at least produce something. Did I go too far, guys? I did. Okay. Basically just cut the case straight down the middle instead of on this angle, so that way we can get this in. I mean, obviously we could try and just print that. Yeah. I mean, I'm relatively okay with how this looks. We're gonna do more to this to actually try it. I mean, There's not much else we can do to that. Maybe I'll make this a little bit deeper. We already made it a little bit wider. Wednesday's going to be interesting. I'm going to see if I can start a print on Wednesday in class on this, because this is going to take a while. This might be a day print. This is a proof of concept of being able to make a keyboard. It's not a mass production unit. Basically, it's like, hey, you know, you could... The whole point of this... The whole point of this is, hey, make a keyboard. You're like, hey, you want to make a keyboard, but you don't want to spend a couple $100 making one, but you want it to be your own bare bones kit. Well, here's, you know, this one. Oh, shoot. The rest of that didn't go with it. Okay. You know, it's using some parts that are kind of like popular with everyone, and if you have this lying around, you know, here's a couple ways that you can customize it, make your own, kind of make it your own. Because imagine we take a wood veneer and overlay it on the side of this. All of a sudden it's a wood keyboard. People love wood keyboards. And if it's not a full wood keyboard, we can lower the cost. It's not going to be like the dude who makes actual wood keyboards. They're like $500. They are so expensive. So this is not a bad start. You might be too close. I'm not sure. This might just need to get slid down. This is why it's prototype number 1. Thesis keyboard proto 1. Technically, that's my first week of school done, and I've got a week that was supposed to be further down the line for this thesis done. I'll take it. It's a great thing. It's also, oh shit, it's 120. Oh yeah, that's a great spot for leaving this off. Obviously, again, we're gonna have to cut this in half, but I'll figure that out later. Especially now that I'm like, oh hey, I'm stupid and I can just change these here, so that way it's like, hey, you fit, you don't fit. Because then I could easily, yeah, like we'll copy, paste that. Paste, there we go. Set this to move on half an inch. Now they're both lined up. We don't have to be like, are they lined up? Take you. Oh shoot, I didn't. Okay, there we go. Now they're both lined up on half brick. Take this, slide it over, come down, and because this is built on there we go. Because this is built on a, what's its face? It's built to be exactly 12 inches to make modeling it easier right now. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Merge that. Merge that. Drop those two. All of a sudden I have got this is exactly what I'm looking for. Although I don't know why you won't merge properly. Sure, that's something to figure out later. because there's the space. It's an even gap on everything. So if we printed it like this, you know, let's actually lay this out how it would be on the build plate. Do it face that way. You're gonna lay it a 90. If these fit, it's gonna be tight. Yeah, we would have to build supports underneath you. You would not need supports. Neither would you. I'm gonna build you off the plate. I don't trust the idea of trying to build you half on the plate, half off. I don't think that's gonna work too great. Okay. This is... I do need to add the... What's its face? The standoffs still. But I think that can be worried about at a later date. And because this is technically this is additive, this is not destructive 3D modeling, I can go back, tell this to unmerge, grab this shape, and then redo that. Like, basically say, hey, leave this as Proto 1, start a brand new Tinkercad project, or Tinkercad page project, and yeah, just go from there. But I mean, this was good for me to have done tonight, because this was a good simple start, got us kind of like caught up in head. I'm gonna leave this so that way I know exactly how I want to continue doing this with this angled cut. See how that does. Obviously we're gonna need more ways to lock this together, because as of right now only the backside has any locking. With the bar and the port, there is no locking on the front. I'd have to go back and redesign that. This is not the point. This is not the time for that. This is only a, hey, get this working, make sure this as a concept works. You know, is this a feasible thing to do? And after that, then we can start saying like, okay, we know that this thing needs more stability. We know this thing needs veneers. We know this thing needs metals. We know this thing needs a PCB standoff. So we know this thing needs those rubber gaskets we were looking at from Canon Keys. We know this thing needs a plate. We need switches. We need keycaps. But we have a product that will be presentable to the professor, to the class, and to the dean, and be like, this is what I'm doing for my thesis. And it's simple enough that I think I can get complex with it, if that makes sense. There's a lot of people in my class who are like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, and it's this wonderfully complex, like a TTRG or an ARG, stuff like that. And everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, that, and I'm like, I feel like they're gonna dig themselves into a hole of this really complex thing that they're not gonna enjoy, because the fact that it's gonna be what's its face? It's going to be too much for them to do, and it might provide too high of an entry point for them to really get into it. Whereas with this, like I said, we have a prototype after 2.5 hours of streaming. Hell, we only 3D modeled this in about 30 minutes. Imagine what we can do with this thing when we eventually go and spend another 30 minutes, you know? Am I going to have an acrylic basement with RGB and frosted acrylic sides so you have a little diffusion going on with it? Am I going to have, higher quality materials? Is this going to be maybe milled instead of 3D printed? Because we do technically have milling machines over in a different building. I might have to get access to them. Is there going to be laser engraving on this thing? Like, what if I made a metal tray on the top in the CNC machine, and basically is like aluminum, and yeah, like imagine an aluminum cover for this that went on the top, and then it has like waves or something engraved on the top. Just imagine like the 4 elementals: water, fire, air, earth. Designs like that, print laser engraved all over the top. And now all of a sudden there's an extra level of customizability, and you can add colors to that: green anodized metal, red anodized metal, blue, and silver for air. You're not gonna go, I don't think we would do white, we'd do silver for air. But because we've gone so simple, there's so much we can do, and it's really exciting. And I'm glad I went simple with this. I don't feel like I'm locked into something. I feel like I can really get creative with this. Yeah. This is gonna be fun. I don't have the attention span to keep working on this, because I can see my phone right there, and I don't know when it happened, but someone updated Warship Craft. I've been playing that for the past however long it's been that I realized that it got updated. It's probably only been a day. I think I've played like 8 hours of that mobile game, just sitting there on my phone, even in class, not paying attention, just shooting away on my little boat. But I definitely want to go do that right now. So there's a lot of people who stopped by on YouTube. If y'all happen to ever check back in again, thank y'all for stopping by. If there's been anyone on Twitch who just haven't seen stop by, thank you for stopping by. It's been a late night. It's been a good night. Thank y'all very much, and have a great night.